Hello everyone. Welcome back. So this is our first day in this backend journey. So we'll be starting with the backend fundamentals. So we'll be breaking down, making you understand what backend development is. So now the thing is this, all the big applications you've been seeing, you see them as maybe an ocean, but the thing is that an ocean, a drop of water, couple of millions of drop of waters can actually make an ocean. So we are going to dissect this whole backend thing. Instead of seeing it as an ocean, we are going to see them as um, drops of waters that come together to make up that ocean. So I'm going to break it down. I'll take you step by step and make you understand the fundamentals of backend development. Okay, so what is backend? The backend is the part of an application. So when you look at maybe you're using an Android phone right now, or you're using an Apple phone, and then you have an app, whether it's mobile app or a web application, anyone, Instagram, TikTok, whatever you're using right now. Whatever you're seeing there is the front end. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing the buttons, you're seeing the videos, you're seeing the maybe the like button, the images, and all those things. So that's the front end. So we'll still talk about front end, okay? Now, but that's the front end. But the moment you click on any button, you're sending message to the back end. The back end, you're not seeing them. You don't even know what is happening at the back end. You don't really know. All right. And when you click that message, it will take some time and load. Then it will now come back with the response. Then you will now see the response. Or maybe the first time you load an application, it will take some time to load. That means it's fetching some data from the back end. So you don't see the back end, it's only the front end that you see. So the back end of an application is the part of an application that handles business logic. When you try to say, when you click a button, there's some business logic. Okay, let's assume that you click on the login button. The business logic could be, okay, they are going to check if you are a user of that application. Have you registered? Okay, are you a registered user? They will check if you're a registered user. If you're not a registered user, they will bounce it and tell you that no, that you're not a registered user. So that's business logic. Okay, anytime you try to register on an application, you click on sign up or register, it will take it to the backend. The backend will process the business logic. They want to know if you gave them the code, your name is valid, your email address is valid. They want to check all those things. So that's backend logic. That's business logic. So backend also communicates with the database. Most of the time, whatever we are doing on applications, the data is being stored in a database. If not, you cannot retrieve the data. When you go to Facebook, when you go to TikTok, you will see feeds, you see your history and every other thing. Those things are stored somewhere in a database. That is why you can fetch them. So the back end, when you click on any button, it talks to the back end. The back end would also communicate with the database. So it also processes requests from users, and then after processing the request, let's assume that you're on YouTube and you want to get all your history, your watch history. Once you make that request, YouTube would go to the back end, process it, go to the database, fetch your history, and then send you the response. So the backend sends response back to the front end. That is where you will now see your history. You will now see all the couple of videos you have watched over a period of time. So that is how simple it is. All right. So real example, let's take a fintech app as an example. When a user clicks send money, so you want to send money you want to do transfer or whatever it is, you want to send money. As soon as you click on send money, the front end is the one sending the money, your browser or your mobile application. That's the front end. It sends the request, telling the back end, oh, I want to send money. Can you help me process this request? So sending money is a request. So it processes the front end will send the request. Then the back end will now verify if you are a user. First of all, the backend needs to know, is this person a registered user of this application? If you're not, they will bounce your request. They say, no, we don't know you. You cannot use this application. But if you're a registered user, then they will check your balance. That's business logic. Because you cannot tell me you want to send $1,000 and you don't have up to $1,000 in your account. That will not work. So they will check the amount you want to send and against your balance. So if the balance checks goes well, after the check, your balance is in check, then they will process the transaction. They will now debit your account, and then credit the other person you want to send money to. They will credit their account. So they will debit your own account and credit another person's account. Okay. So now, after doing these things, they will store the result, because banks will also need to have references to all these things. Because how would you know? When you go to your bank app, you check your history, you see your transactions. Those transactions have, after processing those transactions, they have to store it in the database. If not, there will be no, it will not be accountable. Okay, now back end will now send, after everything has gone well, whether it goes well or it doesn't go well, if there's anything at all, back end will send response back, either telling you, oh, this transaction could not process, oh, the user's name was not found, blah blah blah, or congratulations, your transaction went unsuccessful. Do you understand? So backend is the brain of the application. See, backend, every application at all, whether mobile applications, whether web applications, your games you play, everything that you're doing, back end is the brain. Back end is the brain, and it's actually harder than front end. Back end is the brain. So there's something we call client server architecture. That is the major architecture of applications, modern applications. This is how modern applications communicate: a client and a server. Okay, so a client is the browser or your mobile app. So these are clients. The server is the backend. So your browser, maybe you're using your laptop and you're on TikTok or you're on Facebook. So your browser is the client. And it is your browser, it is from your browser that you click some buttons. It's your browser that you do anything, either your browser or your mobile app. These are where you actually do things. So you send requests, the client sends the request, and the server is the back end. The client is the front end, the server is the back end. The back end will receive the request, processes the request, as in check it against the business logic, and then sends back response to the client. So the client is saying, oh, I need something. Client, server, do you have it? Client will check, and respond. Oh, I have it. Look at it. Or, oh, I don't have it. Okay. So this is the flow diagram. The client, which is the front end, sends a request to the back end. The back end, um, which is the server, sends response back to the client. All right, so it's a two-way thing. It's a two-way thing. Okay, so let's assume now you want to get all the users of an application. Let's assume you're an admin of an application and you want to get all the users of the application. You will use this endpoint. Let's assume it says admin.com/users. All right, so that's the URL, that's the endpoint. So when you say /URL, you are actually that /users, you are actually sending a request using a GET request. We'll talk about the HTTP methods and also resources. So when you say GET, all right, you're telling the server, please, I want to get all the users of these applications, of this application. The server will go and process, fetch the users from the database and send it to you. So as you as the client, you're saying, give me users. Server will say, oh, here are users in a format we call, in a data format we call JSON. You will see a lot of that. And if you have been following our fintech application development, you would have seen a lot of this. So check out that fintech 30 days of fintech development. Check it on my YouTube channel. Okay. So now let us talk about REST API basics. Okay, as a beginner, we will be looking at REST API, but there's another one we call GraphQL. All right, but GraphQL is for senior men. All right. So, but uh, as you grow, you will learn about the GraphQL. So REST API basics. REST stands for representational state transfer. Now, the client and the server, they use this communications protocol. The client talks to the server responds. And once there is request and response, once that cycle completes, they disconnect. So the client and the server don't have any persistent way of retaining that communication. Once the client makes a request and the server serves a response, they close that communication. They don't know each other anymore. They don't care to know each other. They don't want to build friendship. It is transactional. You give me, I give. I ask for this, you give me, or you tell me, oh, it's not available, and we go our separate ways. If I want to come back again and ask for another one, I will establish a new connection. So there is no state. There is no state persistence. State is not persistent when it comes to client server. So that's the REST acronym there. Representational state transfer. So a REST API is a way for clients and servers to communicate using URLs. So when you want to talk to a server, you will send the URL. All right, the domain name system will go and figure out who has that domain, who has the where does that computer lives, or where does the server lives. Then talks to the server. They communicate using URLs endpoints. They communicate using HTTP methods. All right, they communicate using JSON data. All right, so when the client sends a URL, the domain name system will figure out which server has that. You say you will take it to the server will respond. So they use HTTP methods: get, put, delete, update, and patch. So with this HTTP method, the client will say, I want to get, or I want to post, or I want to delete, or I want to put, or a patch. Do you understand? So JSON data is is the data format that is being returned by the server. So RESTful APIs, we call them RESTful APIs because they use the representational state transfer model of communication. So the key concept here is that there's something we call endpoint. Endpoint is the URL. youtube.com/ blah, 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 blah. All right. The global genus / users. Okay, so this is an endpoint. In your URLs, you see all these kind of things. This is called an endpoint. All right, so in this case now, this is an endpoint that will fetch all the users of an application. We have transactions, we have auths / login. So this you can have many / in here, but the router or the router is, you are the one that will create the router. You're going to say how we are going to create it very soon. You will create, as a backend developer, you will create these routers for your application so that when people make this request, your server would actually serve them. Then every endpoint basically has a resource or has resources that the client is actually requesting for. When they say / users, they have something that they have a program, they have a software, they have an application that can actually serve them and give them something. So we call them resources. So in this case, / users will give us the users of an application fetched from the database. So these are resources. All right, transactions, wallets, these transactions, these are resources. Do you understand? So whenever a user makes the resources can be just a string, it can be JSON data, it can be a couple of things. Don't worry, at the end of this session, we are going to create a simple server so that you see how this thing works in real time. All right, so couple of examples here. Example of REST APIs: get user uses the / user, and the method, the HTTP method here is get. Create user will use post. So you can see that both of them have the same URL, but the difference there is that what method are they using? The get user is using the get HTTP method, and the create user is using the post. So if you want to create a user, let's assume now that you want to register for an application, all right? You're going to use post because you're going to give them your email address, your name, your date of birth, blah, 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 all those data. You're using post because you want to create a user. So the backend developer would expose or share with you the URL that you can use to contact the server to create you as a user of that application. So if you want to also update, you can also use the put or the patch. So if you want to update, you can actually say / users / then this :ID. You're going to see all these things. You can also use the delete method for to delete a user, but don't worry, we're going to see them just in a bit. You're going to see all these things. So we have already mentioned HTTP methods without explaining much about them. So let's talk about HTTP methods. These define what action you want to perform. When you make a request to the server, you also need to tell the server what action do you want to perform. Do you want to fetch users? Do you want to fetch data? Or do you want to create data? Or do you want to post data? Do you want to add data to the database? Or do you want to fetch? Or do you want to update a particular data? Or do you want to delete? So you have to tell the server using HTTP methods. Get is the first one. We use get to fetch data. All right. So when you say get users, you're fetching the users from the database, from the server. It will return something like this. It will return an array. All right. It will return something like this. Okay. The user's ID and the user's name. All right. So when you say post, you are creating data. When you use the HTTP method post, you're creating data. Okay, so post will actually ask for a body. There's something we call the request body. All right, post will actually ask for it. So now this is what the request body will look like. Don't worry, I'm going to show you examples of all these things. We are going to use Postman. I'm going to create a server and we're going to use Postman to test all of them. All right, so put, you can use put to update data. If you want to update data, full data, you use put. But if you want to update a part of the data, not the full data, you will use patch. All right. So you can use put to update data. If you want to update the full data, but you want to, let's say you have a user, you have ID, you have user's ID, you have user's name, you have user's email, you have user's date of birth, all those things. So if you want to update all of them, all the fields of that user, you can use put to update. But if you want to update maybe just the email address, all right, you can use patch. But if you want to delete data, you want to delete the data, you use the delete HTTP method. Okay, so pro tip here, use patch for partial updates. So if you want to update a particular field of any of the data, you can use patch. So that's the difference between put and patch. If you still use put, no wahala. And the server will not reject it, but for simplicity, patch if you want to just update a particular field of that data, put if you want to update all the data, the full update. So now let's talk about HTTP status codes. So when the server is responding, the server will respond with some certain codes. We call them status codes. It tells the client what happened. Was the request successful? Was it not successful? Were you not authorized? Was the resource not found? So these are called HTTP status code. We are going to see them, all right, as we go on. So we have a couple of them. We have the code 200, success codes. If you get a request and they are in either 200, 201, 204, but they're just in that range of 200s, all the 200, 201, 202 to maybe 299, that means it was successful. All right, so 200 means okay. Your request was okay, nothing was wrong about it. 201 means, oh, I created data for you. Maybe you asked for a post to create a user and then I created it. So 201 means data was created successfully. 204 means no content. I am not sending you any content. Yes, everything went successful, but I am not returning any content to you. Do you understand? Because sometimes if you create if a user registers or if a user logs into an application, sometimes the back end also sends some data in the response body. I'm speaking jargon, but don't worry, we'll get into practicals very soon. All right. So client errors. So if there's any error and that error is from your side, as a client, 400 means bad request. Maybe you're not giving us the right data you're supposed to give us. So you're giving us your request is bad. All right, you're making a bad request. You're not giving us what we are asking, what we want from you. Or 401, you're not authorized to use that application. 403 means forbidden. You're forbidden. You cannot use that. It is forbidden. Okay, 404 means not found. So when you try to say /user/ blah blah blah, if that blah 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 was not one of the endpoints of that backend application, it will tell you not found. So forbidden means that request is forbidden. You cannot issue such request. Unauthorized means you are not authorized to use this application. A bad request means you're giving us a bad request. We also have the 500. We even have 300. Okay, we have 300 too. So 500 means internal server error. The error is not from the client side, it's from the server side. So we also have 300. 300 has to do with redirection. Okay, so example of responses. Look at this response. This response has the status code of 200 and the message says users fetched successfully and then the data is here. Do you understand? So this is an example. You're going to see how we are going to create a server right now. So now let us start to create a server. But before you go on, I believe you have Node.js installed I believe you have Node.js installed. If you don't have Node.js installed, please install it. I think in the next class we'll talk about Node.js, so we'll install Node.js in the next class. But if you don't have Node.js installed, no problem. In the next class we are going to install Node.js. So, but if you have Node.js installed, let us create a server. So now let's actually build your first backend server, if that's your first actually. So first thing first, you have to set up your project. So you create a folder and initialize it. Okay. So the first thing we are going to do now is we are going to create a folder called backend, call it anything, call it backend. Then we would do cd back. Okay, let me just show you. Let me not talk too much. So I will go back to my desktop and then I have just a couple of folders. I don't even know the one to use. So maybe let me just go here. Let me open this my TypeScript folder. Open any folder. So here I'm going to, I don't know if you use git bash or you use command prompt. Anyone, you can open your command prompt from here. Control Shift, right click. All right. You will see open in terminal. Okay, or you can even do show more option and then or you see command prompt here. So you can open command prompt, all right, and do whatever you see me I'm going to do now. But for me, I'm going to use git bash. I will open, I like using git bash. I will open git bash here. So I'm going to create a folder. I will say make dr. All right. I will say make dr, I will call it backend, and it will create this folder for me. So if I take this thing over here, you see that I have a backend folder, but you can create this folder manually because I think this make dr is for git bash. Okay. So I don't use command prompt often. I use git bash. So you can see the backend folder has been created. You can create it manually. Just right click, you can right click or you come here and click on new and select folder, or you right click, just create a folder. I should not be teaching you how to create a folder at this time. So I will create a folder. I have created a folder. So I will say cd means change directory, because if you look at where I am. I am on this TypeScript folder. So, but I want to go to the backend folder. I will say cd backend. All right. So I am now in the backend folder. All right. So manually, what you can do is that if you have created a folder called backend or anything you call it, all right, open it, open it. Okay. Now you can see it's open, it's empty. Right click on it and then open with Visual Studio Code. Once you open it with Visual Studio Code, all right, you can also get your terminal from there. So I can now come here and you can see now I am on the backend folder. I can now click terminal, new terminal, and everything is pointed at. Some people are going to have some issues with this. Okay. So that's why I'm taking my time to show you. You can see now that my terminal is pointing at backend. Okay, so make sure if you're using the terminal like this, make sure that your terminal is pointing at the back end so that everything we do here will be inside of the back end. If I also go back to if I go back, you can see now that look at where my folder is pointing at. So I can also do something. Let me show you something. Let me show you maybe how you can actually do this. Maybe let's say you're using command prompts. So let me go and use command prompts. let me use command prompt inside of anywhere. Just open your command prompt. I don't know if make dr works with command prompt. Make dr. Let me just say back. Let me call it BK. Let me turn it in. Okay, it's like it has created it. Yes, it worked. You can see BK here. So command prompt also work. Then I can also CD BK. Make sure you can see. I'm saying change directory to BK, which is the folder. So you can see I'm now in BK. All right. So you can do the same thing there. I've shown you 3 ways you can actually run this. Okay. So, but I'm going to close it. I will go back to I'll delete my BK because I'm not using it. All right. So I will go back to so you have created your folder, you have changed directory to the folder, whichever one you're using, command prompt, determining your Visual Studio Code, anyone, that's up to you. I'm using my Git bash. So what am I going to do? I'm going to initialize my project so that it would be a node package. So I will say npm init hyphen y. I will hit enter. I will hit enter. You can see it has created some things for me. All right. Now, if I go back to my Visual Studio Code, it has created this package.json for me automatically. So now this is a Node.js application. Do you understand? Now, after you have done this, let me take you to the slide so that we'll take it step by step. The next is to install Express.js. So you can see, first of all, create a backend folder, cd to the backend folder, initialize it, npm init-y. Then let us install Express. So go to your terminal, type npm install Express. All right. So I will come here. I will say npm install Express. I will hit enter and it will install Express for me. Now, I believe you have taken the TypeScript class. I'm not going to write this thing in JavaScript. I'm not going to write it in JavaScript. I'm going to write every code here in TypeScript. Go back and take that TypeScript class. All right. Now, I might as well install TSC. Yes, I might as well. Although it's not part of the plan, but I might as well. Let us write in TypeScript. So I will say npm install txc. Then I will say nps tsc init, right? I hope I will get it right. Yeah, I want to initialize it as a TypeScript folder. So there's an error. So my error is wrong. Okay, I have not installed TypeScript here. So let me install TypeScript first of all. Okay, let me install TypeScript. npm install. I can say install or I can say I can say install TypeScript. I don't manually do these things. Most times I use some frameworks that just do all these things for me. So not nps, sorry, this is npm, not nps. npm install TypeScript. Okay, so it's installing TypeScript, so you can also do the same thing. It's taking some time, just okay, so installed. Now let me go back to initializing. So after I've installed the type, I will now say nps tsc init. I hope I get it right. Fingers crossed. All right, so it has initialized this project as it has installed Express, it has installed TypeScript, it has initialized it as a TypeScript folder, as a TypeScript project. So now we have installed. So let us go and create our server file. So we create index.ts. It's no longer JavaScript. We are no longer using JavaScript. So I'll go back to my, you can see now I have my JSON, my TypeScript stuff here. So one thing I can do with this my TypeScript is that I can actually um, okay, let me leave it this way. I would want to uncomment this. Okay, I would want to uncomment it. All right. Then the next thing is for us to create a server, our server. So I will go and create a file. I will call it maybe server, call it server.js or index.js. I like to use server because it makes more sense. TS. Okay. Now, but before I go on, watch what I'm going to do. I'll go to the package.json. Okay. I'll go to package.json. Okay, let me not do that. Let me not do that. Okay, so this thing is giving us, it says that, it's telling us because we say that our root directory is source and we are having our server.ts inside a folder that is not source. So let me create this folder called source. All right. Then I will now put this server.ts inside. I know that this is not beginner's level, but grab it. You can see now I don't have that error again. All right. So just follow what I'm doing. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, um, so let us create our server. So I will import, no, I'm not going to use require. I don't use require. I don't use what's it called? The module that I use is ES module. I don't use common JS. So please pardon me. I will go to my package.json and I will change this thing to uh, I'll change the type to from common JS to module. All right. But we might have some issues there, but just watch me as I go on to fix them. Now, we are good. So now let me go and from here, I'm going to import Express. I'll say import Express. Okay, what's that line again? Okay, so I'm doing import. I'm not doing require. All right, pardon me, as I was even making that slide. So I'll say import Express from Express. Do we have any error? Okay, now because I'm using TypeScript, like I said, there will be some common issues. See, I am not afraid of these things. I want to also show you them. So I don't want it to be easy, but I just want to, you should, after taking that TypeScript class, you should be writing TypeScript projects, no longer JavaScript, because there is no need learning TypeScript and you're not using the advantage. But let me show you one example. This is an error. We are having some errors there, but this is how you solve your errors. First of all, take your mouse over these red lines. It says that express is declared, but its value is never read. That's not the problem. It says that could not find a declaration file for module express. Basically, it's telling us that we do not, because you're using TypeScript, all right, you need to also install, there's something we call at types for every file at all. So look at this whole thing, read them. But basically, it says try npm I save dev this. So look, see what I'm copying. Do you see it? I am copying npm I hyphen hyphen save hyphen dash at type. So I will copy it. Then I will go to my terminal. It's either I do it from here or I go back to my terminal. Remember, I'm sitting under the back end. So I would paste this thing here and hit enter. So as soon as this thing installs, you will see that this error will go. It's installing. Look at it. It's still installing. The error will go away as soon as we are done. Look at it. We are done. And then it's still here. Okay, let's see why. Okay, you can see it's gone. It took some time, but it's gone. All right. So instead of saying require, I am using ES module. All right. So follow me. Now we have imported our express. The next thing is we need to do now is to create our app. So we are going to, if you call express as a constructor, you make a constructor call on express, it will return an object called app. So that's what I'm going to do. Then we will now, this is what I'm going to do. We'll now say listen and then, okay. So now I'll go and I will say constant, I will call it app is equal to express. It's a function, it's a constructor function. that I've created the app. Then I also have to create my port. I can say const. Most times this port comes from the port. This thing comes from. Let's say I'm using 400. It comes from most times. It comes from our environment variable. It says it's always an environment variable. So, but just for the sake of this tutorial, let us continue with it. Now, after this, I am now going to create. I will now say app.listen. So we are saying we are telling our server you are ready to listen to any request that is coming through this port, and then there's the callback function. So what happens when it is running? So while it is running, we'll now say console.log. I will say my first backend server is running. So the thing is this, I can even run this, I can say app.listen, I'll just give it only the port without this callback function inside. But the thing is that this is basically how you use to test if your app is running. So with this now, all right, look at what we have now. We are good, right? We are good. So we have set up our server. So if I go back to the slide, we have set up our server. Okay, okay, but I can maybe add the ports. I can say, okay, it's running at a certain port. So I can say my first, let me use template literal. Sorry. I can say my first backend server is running at this port. Oops. At port. Okay. So this is what I have here. My server is ready, as simple as it is. The first time I started my web development journey, I was using IIS. It's the server for .NET. Oh man, it was crazy. But look at how simple Node.js has made it for us, especially Express.js. Okay, now we now have to start our server. Remember, servers are programs, servers are applications, they are software. Servers are software, so you need to start it. So if I want to start this software now, because we are using TypeScript, we have to be very careful. I'm not going to use no, I'm not going to say node server.ts unless I compile it first. We have a couple of things we can do. I can say, okay, let me compile this code. All right. Now I'll go to okay, that could be the best way, but it's not necessary. All right. Okay, first of all, let me try this one out. So I'm going to say Um, so I don't have TSS, right? I don't have TSS. So to run this program, so I can install, you see, long term, but just learn. I can say npm I TSS. Okay. TSS is what I'm going to use to run a TypeScript file. Okay. Instead of not if we have used JavaScript, I would have said node, then I would have used node, but now I will say npx tss. The folder is in source. I'll say source. I hope everything is cool. And server.ts. All right, let's see what we have. Oh, I think we are good. Yeah, yeah, I think we are. You can see it's running now. Everything is good. Look at it. Our first server is currently running. Our first server is ready to serve people. But the thing is that if you take a look, we don't have any endpoint. So if anybody makes any request, we don't have any endpoint yet. That's the next thing we are going to do. So like I said, there are a couple of ways to do this, but I think this is just the best. Let's go with this. Just follow every step you've seen me do here. Follow every step. Install TSS, then you will not say nps TSS, then you will not give it where the file that you want to run, where is it located? It's located inside the source folder and server.ts. That's what we have done here. And now our package is running now. So successful. All right. There's no need for us to go do more than this. Now, the next thing is for us now is to let us now create our endpoints. The first endpoint we are going to create is now. Pardon me, I was trying to do this, but now I'm not going to. I've already done all these things. I have run the server. I didn't use Node anymore because I'm not using JavaScript. I have used types. I'm using TypeScript and I've installed the TSS. Um, and I'll just follow every step that I have followed. Now, if you go to HTTP, I did not use 4,000. I did not use 3,000 as my port. I use 4,000. So if you go to HTTP, all right, it will run, but we don't have any endpoint. So let's go. Let's go and let's just open your browser. Um, okay, so I'll open a browser. I will go to localhost 4,000, and I will hit enter. You can see it say can that because there's saying there is no endpoint. So, but let us go on and create some endpoints now. The first endpoint we are going to create is the get. So now let's go and create the endpoint. I will now come before the app.listen. That's where you create before the app.listen. Say app.get. Okay, then the URL is /. So this is like the home page. Then I will get a function, an arrow function, all right, that will take in request object and rest object. And then I'm just going to say rest.send. I'm just going to send hello, welcome to my first back end project. Do you understand? But the thing is this, we will have to restart our application. I will save it, but then we have to restart our application. But there's a way we could do this so that we'll not be restarting every time. So let me go back to so I'm back here. Instead of just running nps tss like this, I will stop it. Then I will not say, I will run nps tss, but I will not say hyphen watch all. So it will watch my application, it will watch my project. Anytime I make any changes, it will restart. So if I hit enter now, I hope everything goes well. Okay, there's an error. It says bad option. It's like I'm not using the right option. So let me say watch. Instead of watch or let me say watch. It's either watch or watch or. Okay, it's running now. So now we have an endpoint /. So this is like the home page. So if I go now to my browser and refresh this, if I refresh, you see, look at what it has given us. So it means that we have an endpoint. So whether you say / like this, or not, this is the home page. So hello, welcome to my first backend project. So we have added an endpoint and it's a get method. All right. So now the second thing we need to do is that let us create API route. Let us create the users route. All right. So far, so good. We don't have users as a data, but we can just create one now. So now I would go back and then I will now say app.get. So what is the URL? What is the endpoint? The endpoint is / users. Then my function, other function would be I will take in request res. Then I'm just going to say res.json. So I'm sending a JSON. We'll talk about all these things as we go on. I will now say I'm sending a JSON object. So I'm sending an array, and then I will say the first object is ID, and the ID is so the first is ID, and the ID is let's say 123. That's the ID, and then name could be Paul. Okay, so normally these things are fetched from databases. So, but for now, we are just doing it manually here. I'll create another user. The ID is 456, and the name. Oh, sorry, the name is John. So you can see as soon as I have saved this, if I go back to it has restarted, but as it was restarting, there was an error. Okay. So it was restarting and there was an error. So let me just restart it manually again. All right. So as I was writing all those things, it was saving and okay, so it's running now. So if I go back to my browser and instead of using the normal homepage of forward slash, I will now say forward slash users. Look at if I hit enter, you can see it has returned this data for us as a JSON object. But we are still using the get method. All right. Now, the next thing we can also do, let us create a user by using the post. But the thing is that you cannot use your browser for the post now. So this is called middleware. So we are going to say app.use so that we are doing this so that we can actually extract the request body. We'll talk about that as we go on. So before I will use this request.body to extract whatever the user has given me in the body, I would have to call this middleware. So I'll say app.use. Um, my middleware should always come around here. Say app, we'll talk about middleware later, app.use, and I'm using express.json. Okay, that's the middleware I'm using. So now I can come here and now say um, app.post. You can see we are using the different methods. If I say app.post forward slash, let's say user, all right, then I'll create my request res. Okay. Then, first of all, the user is going to give me some things about the user. So I will have to extract them from the request body. So I'll just say user, and it's coming from rec.json. This rec.json, oh, what's the issue here? Okay, so this rec should be of type request. Um, request. Why am I having some errors here? Okay. Oh, sorry, my bad. It's rec.body. I'm sorry, it's not rec.json, please. You see, that is TypeScript. That is the beauty of TypeScript. I was making a mistake here, an honest mistake. And again, we could actually make use of all this. We can take this is request object and this is response object, all coming from TypeScript. Okay. So I can also, in short, let us make good use of TypeScript. Okay, let us make good use of TypeScript. All right, so you look at what I have there. Look at the way they are here. Look at the way they are. So make sure you just have the code like this. Okay. Now I am extracting the user that they are going to give me in the request body. Then after that, I could just come and say, okay, let's assume now that I have this. Let's assume now that this array of users. Let me cut it out and let me create an array. Let me create, say, cons users. All right, is equal to this. All right, and then I am actually sending the users like this. So now if a user sends to create a user, what I'm now going to do is that I'm now going to say users dot push. I will push in this user. Do you understand? And at the end of the day, I will now say res dot status. So status of now we created a user. So the status code will be 201 that's created. And then I will now send in a data. I can now say, okay, sorry. I will now say dot JSON. I can now, instead of, sorry, I will say JSON. This JSON could be an object. I will now say, I will have a message. I'll have a message and I'll say user created successfully. And then I might put another thing and say maybe success is true. So now you can see we are not doing much business logic here. We are not processing much here. All right. But when we actually start building big application, you have to process a lot. So you can see that I have refactored the code, and this is what we have right now. So we now have an endpoint where user can do post. But the thing is that our browser will not work. We are not going to use our browser. See, this my guy have also failed again. So I'll restart it. The reason why it's failing is because I have auto save. So as soon as I type anything, it will save. And once it's saved, the TSS will go and watch it and try to restart. And by then, maybe my code has errors. And once it has errors, it would throw error and fail and crash the server. So now our server is running, but right now I am no longer going to use. Look at the server is running now. The server is running. But I'm no longer going to use the browser because with the browser, I can only use get on the browser URL like this. I cannot use post. So there's something we call postman. I'll open my postman. All right, I'll open my postman. Then I can use my postman to test my application now. It's loading. Okay, I'm signed out. Let me sign in. So you can install Postman. If you don't have Postman, install Postman. Okay, so I'll sign in with Google. Okay, so it have signed me in. So if I go back to so now my Postman now will open. The desktop app will open. So now this is what I'm going to do. What is it? What is happening? I just signed in now. Okay. All right. So now, these are some endpoints that I have here. So, but let me just close all these endpoints. Let me just leave one. So this is the one I have here. But the thing is that the URL, I have to change the URL. So my own is localhost 4000. So if I say localhost 4000, all right, and then if I want to go to the home page, if I want to get from the home page, I'm not supposed to use post. I will select get. Look at a couple of HTTP methods. So I'll select get. If I hit send, you can see it's going to fetch it that it says, hello, welcome to my first backend project. So you can see now that's the home page. Now, if I want to go to users, I'll say /users. It's still get. I'm also using get because it's a get request. I'll hit and send. It has fetched the users for me now. Now, if I want to create a new user, remember it is /user, not users. If I go back to my code, you will see that it is post a app user if you want to create a new user. So I'll go back to my postman. So I'm using 4000 /user, but it's going to be post, not get. It's post. If I type get, it will throw an error. Then what are the params? Because of course it will ask us what do we want to the details of the user. So I'm going to click on body and then I will select raw. All right. Now we have name and we have ID. So far, name and ID is what we have there. So I'm going to delete these ones. All right. So far, so the ID can be, let's assume now that the ID is 789. So if I hit enter and if I hit send now, see, this is going to be in the body. This is in the body, rec.body. So if I hit enter now, this is what is going to happen. The request will come here. Our app will handle it and get it here. Then we'll fetch. Okay, let me now show you. Let me say console. Let me do console.log user. Our server would also have failed by now. So let me restart it. Okay. It didn't fail. All right. So I typed quickly, didn't fail. So now if I go back to the postman, all right, as soon as I hit send, all right, it will take whatever we have put in the body. The body has to be a JSON object. You will learn more about all these things. Then if I hit enter, if I hit send, look at what is going to happen. A returned user created successfully and success is true. And look at 201 created. That's the status code. Now, if I go back to my server, you can see now, look at what we have here, the name and the ID. That is because in the app, we extracted the body, reg.body, and we now got user. I consoled it so that you can see it. After that, I now pushed it to here. So I now added it to this our user array. Now, if I go back to my Postman or even to my browser and now try to fetch users, you will now see that the new user that we just created now, if I refresh this now, you now see that the new user will be here. You can see, look at the new user is here, the one that we created. So if I go back to Postman, and then if I go back to Postman and say users, but I have to change it back to get and hit send, you can see we have it here. Look at, we have the new user in here. All right. So that is how simple web servers are. Very simple. All right. So you have seen us. So we can do puts. Okay, so we can do put. In this case, now we want to update a user. Now, how do we update a user? We have to provide the ID. Look at the endpoint forward slash colon ID. And now, when we do this, we are not there's something we call params. When I say reg.params, we are getting the ID, and here we can now make some changes. So we can also do put, but in this case, because we just want to, if you want to update it, okay, let's go and do this update practical. Let's go and do it practical. Okay, let's go and do it practical. So I will go back to my, okay, let me take this one out. Oops, what did I do? Oh, no, 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 no. I'm not supposed, that's not what I'm supposed to take out. I'm supposed to take this one out. Um, I will say users.push, pushing user. Okay, so but that's not what I want to do. Now let us create for if you want to update a user's account. So I will go back and I will say app.put, all right, or patch, anyone. So I will use this URL. I will say users /colon ID. So I will use their ID. Now I will have my uh, I'll have my oops, sorry about that. So mhm, sorry about that. So I just want to copy this. I just want to copy this. All right. Now, if I want to get the param, all right, we call them in the URL when you see things like that. Okay, so we call them query strings. All right, up in this case now we are going to, I will say const. All right, I'm going to do object destructuring. I will now say is equal to rec.params. So all the params that are available there, I'm going to destructure and take the ID. All right, this, don't worry, you learn more about this. Now that I've gotten the ID, I can now come and say, I want to update the user that has this ID. But first of all, there are a couple of things we could do here. Okay, there are a couple of things we could do here, but there's no need. I wouldn't want to waste our time. I could first of all fetch the user that has this ID, and if the user does not exist, I will throw an error and say 404. User does not exist. All right. Now, but that would be a long thing for us to do here. So basically, let me just say, I will just say res dot status. Maybe I will say 203. whatever, 203.json, and then I would use this JSON. I will say message. Let's just assume that we are just, I'll say message user updated successfully. Okay, user updated successfully, and then I can give another one, success to be true. So like I said, normally we would have user, okay, user with, I can say user with ID. I'm going to use user with ID. I will use this ID that I have gotten from the params, but oops. Okay, so like I said, normally we would have done some processing here, would have processed user updates. Okay, but because of time, we are not going to do that. So now we are not sending back something to the telling the telling the person that, oh, we have done this. So but now let me go back to, let me restart the system. It has crashed. Oh, sorry, what is happening? Sorry. So I'll restart. Now, so if I go, I can do this now using the, okay, so I will go to my postman. Then is a put request. So I'll say users forward slash colon. So I will now say 123. No, I think there's an error there. I will say ID equal to 123. No, users forward slash 123. I hope I'm getting this right. I think so. Okay, yeah, it's correct. Okay, so it assumes that this is the ID. All right, so it has taken it and say user with ID 123 updated successfully. So if I go back to my code, you will see now that it came here, took this ID from the params, destructured it, and then that's what we are using. So you could have used this ID to first of all fetch the user from this array or from your database. Once you fetch it, you now update it. But if the user was not found, you tell them, oh, 404 not found, you can, or you update it, whatever. So now you can see how we did. You can also do delete the same way. I could say copy and paste. Okay, but I can say patch. Remember, we can still do patch. I can say, but here I'm going to do delete. So the user with this ID, I can say user with ID deleted. Deleted successfully. And then, of course, our server would have crashed too. I believe so. Okay, didn't crash. It's still running. So if I now go back, to my postman, so instead of using a put now, I will use delete HTTP method. And once I hit send, it is going to say user with ID deleted successfully. So remember, we could have also done some processing. Once we get the ID, we could have done some processing before any other thing, before sending. So this is just the basics of a server. So we have done a couple of these. Okay. So what you have just learned, you now understand backend fundamentals. You understand how client and server works. You understand REST API structure. You understand HTTP method and status codes. And then you know how to build a working server. We have built a working server right now. You can rewatch the video, maybe take it slower. Okay. Now, I would want you to upgrade your server. I want you to upgrade your server. I have stored users in an array already. I want you to, and now do get users. This time around, we are not deleting or we are not updating, we are getting. Also validate their name when they want to register. Validate their name first. If their name was wrong or was not validated, you give them error message. So I want you to do this as a mini challenge, okay? Thank you very much. If you have any questions, if you have any confusion, please come to the community. Let's discuss about it. Talk to me, come to WhatsApp group. Let's talk about it, and I'll see you in the next class.